Hello Stampers, thank you for joining me today. I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful Thinking of You card. Today we're using a couple of different stamp sets and dies and foil paper and this other dry brush metallic designer series paper and some ribbon. So stick around and I will give you all the details that you need to know to make this card. If you are viewing this because you've purchased my card kit, some of these things were already done for you, lucky you. The dies are already cut out. The embossing in the background is already done for you. But I'm going to show you how to do it in case you want to replicate it on your own with your own materials. And there you can see I did a little stamping on the envelope because happy envelopes make happy recipients. So let's go ahead and get started. My name is Linda Edwards. I am with Crafty Heron Designs. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, which of course, if you've purchased my card kit, you know that. But if you're finding me, maybe from search engine, I hope that you will follow my Facebook page or my YouTube channel, because I present videos fairly frequently, a couple times a month, for my customers, and would love for you to follow along. All the measurements you need for this card are on this paper. I will also have it in the video description. And then there's some of the items that I used in the card are also listed here. So you can find any of those items at my online store, craftyherondesigns.stampinup.net. So we are using the Ginkgo branch stamp set. It's got some wonderful sentiments, sending hope and peace, thinking of you with sympathy and friend, and these beautiful images as well. And it comes with a set of dies. So this die cuts out this whole image. I won't actually be using that one today, but as you will see, I will use these outline dies, which are just beautiful. I'm also using a new stamp set, and both of these are actually in our current catalog, which is the mini catalog for Stampin' Up, and it's 2023. It's the January through April. This is hand-drawn dots, and I'm going to show you a few secrets to this because, as you can see, this is a giant stamp. So there's a few little tricks to using it to create backgrounds that I will share with you. So let's go ahead and get started. Your card kit comes everything in the envelope for you. And as I said, yours may already include the dies, but the die cut pieces, but I'm going to show you what to do. So the card base is soft succulent. It is cut at 11 by 4 1/4 and scored at 5 1/2. And it is half a piece of cardstock. The first thing I always like to do is fold the card and burnish it. So I will set that aside to be used later. And then I have a piece of copper foil, and it is cut at 4 3/8 by 3, although I actually cut it with the rectangle stitched die. So if you don't have that die, just use that 4 3/8 by 3. If you are using the die, cut it a little bit larger so that you have room to fit the die on your paper. And then I have a piece of the dry brush metallic designer series paper, and you need about the smallest piece you can get away with is 4 by 3 for die cutting. And I'll show you how to do that. And then some basic white. So for the background, it's 5 1/4 by 4. And then we're going to cut one that's 4 1/8 by 2 3/4. That's going to be your inside piece. And then you've got another piece that's 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. If you have the kit, this piece is already embossed for you. And then you need a small piece about 4 inches by 1 inch, and that's going to be for stamping and cutting. And again, if you have the kit, it's already cut out for you. If you don't have this stamp set, you can certainly use a different stamp and a different die cut, or use something from your stash. So let's see, I think the first thing we'll do, I usually start with stamping. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's do our stamping. So this is I'm going to move this out of the way. So this is our stamping. So the first thing we're going to do is our background stamp. You can see that I did those dots. So I'm going to take this and I'm bringing this on, and it is on one of our largest blocks. I can't see what that says. F, I think. Yeah, I think it's an F block. but you could also use your Stamparatus if you have the Stamparatus. And I am going to ink this. I'm using Soft Succulent. It's the same color as our background. And before I ink it up, you can see that the paper, the background paper, is going to be larger. So there's going to be ink around the outside. So what I'm going to do is place the paper on there, and then I'm going to cover it with a piece of scrap paper. And this is about a half a sheet of copy paper so that I don't get ink all over my fingers and then all over my card. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and ink up this entire piece. And I am trying to, the nice thing about it being kind of upside down is you can really see to make sure you get ink in all the sections. All right, I got some on my finger, so watch your fingers with that. Now I'm gonna just lay this on, and you see I'm kind of bending it up a little bit so that I can lay it on. And I am trying, because it's kind of a symmetrical stamp, I am trying to make sure it's somewhat straight. And again, I got a little ink on my fingers, so be real careful. Wipe it off on something, even just on this paper. And then take your paper, your copy paper, and you're just gonna rub, give that stamp, give that paper a good back rub. Make sure that you get all of your, you rub it all the way over so that you get a really good crisp image. Now, a lot of it's gonna be covered up, so, you'll probably be fine. You can see that's the outside, and then I'm gonna go ahead and take this up. And the moment of truth, I'm happy with that. And I can see that this is pretty well lined up, so I'm actually gonna turn it, and I'm gonna use it this way because that's gonna be the top of my card. I think it's gonna be more visible than the bottom. And it's not that this is crooked. The nature of the stamp just makes it such that it's going to be uneven. But I am a little, particular, so I just feel like I like the way that looks at the top better. Okay, so that's the first bit of stamping we're gonna do. Oh, I need to leave this here because the next stamping we're gonna do, I'm gonna move that aside, is for the inside. And what I did, because we're gonna be doing this in my class, is I put a note in it, stamp off twice. You see this is a really pretty, this is that stamp in the background. I want it really light so that I can write a message on here. So I put a little note in there so that my class, the women in my class remember to stamp it off twice. And so what I need now is the next largest sheet of cardstock. So this one should fit on the inside of your card. You can see, I'm gonna bring that over here. Actually, no, I'm gonna do it this way. I'm going to ink it up the same way I did the last one. Because it's such a large stamp, I lay the stamp down and apply the ink to the stamp. And you can test this for yourself before you do it the first time, just to make sure that double ink, that double stamping is what you want to do. So there's one, there's two. And I can see, I'm gonna just go ahead and test it. That might be okay. And if I do a third one, now I think I'm gonna go with the double stamping off because I really like, it's really, really light there. So I'm gonna ink it up again. Again, it's always good to test your stamps yourself. Make sure I get a good image. And even though you're stamping off, make sure you give it a good, you stamp it just as if you normally are. Don't just, I see people doing this, just a quick, because I'm stamping off. No, I want a good stamp off. I want that ink I want to stamp it just as I would have if I was going to put it on my actual card. And I'm going to just kind of put this in the center. Let me see, yeah, like that. I don't know, you can do it whatever way you want, but that's the way I think. So I kind of centered those stems on the bottom and let it go, press on it. And there we go, a really nice light image that can absolutely be colored over without any trouble. Okay, and the last bit of stamping I'm gonna do is, well, actually two things. One is gonna be for the envelope. So let me bring in my envelope, and I've got this smaller stamp from the same stamp set, that Ginkgo branch, Thinking of You. And as you see, this time I do, since it's a smaller stamp, I tap it on the ink pad. And the design, the way the stamp is designed is to have multiple layers. We call this a distinctive stamp. So you can see there really isn't a lot of ink in the middle there, but that's the way it's designed. And I'm gonna just put this on the outside of the envelope like that. And you can see where it's got a little bit of a lack of ink there, but that's intentional. That's the way that one's designed. All right. And lastly, the last bit of stamping I'm going to do is my sentiment. And this is thinking of you. And these long, skinny sentiments, you do have to kind of be careful. See how there's like ink there? So I just have to be really careful not to rock the ink, the stamp. Press it on. And I'm just centering it in this. There we go. Happy with that. Centering it in that paper because we are going to die cut it. So that's all my inking, all my stamping. I'm going to set that aside and we will bring in the die cutting machine and finish the rest of this. So I need to move this out of my way so that I have room for my die cutting machine. I will need that because that's got to be die cut. I will need these and we will bring this in. All right, let's make sure you can see it. So here, the first thing we're gonna do is, let's die cut the sentiment. One of the things I like about stamping first and then die cutting is that I don't have to worry about getting that really straight. Now, if you've purchased the card kit, you will have the sentiment piece already die cut for you. So you do have to be kind of careful to line it up so that it's straight, but you know, you do have two sides to the paper. So, and then as I'm lining this up, I am watching so that the G, the F, and the Y are all lined on the bottom, and then that F and K are up at the top. And I will run that through my machine. Now I could run everything through together, but because I want to line that one up really close, carefully, I don't want to be messing around with other items on here at the same time. So there we go. Thinking of you. Perfect. And I will set that aside. And you can see that I did use some tape to line it up for myself. You can use washi tape or some tear-in tape. Lots of different options for you. Okay, so now I'm coming in, and this is this beautiful dry Brushed Metallic Designer Series paper. Can you see that? It's got soft succulent. It's kind of got a copper, and then I'm not really sure. I think this is Bermuda Bay, but because it's a metallic, it's I felt like the soft succulent was really the most accurate color to combine it with. So as you can see, I'm just lining that up and I'm just going to run it through the die cutting machine, and it really gives you a really nice clean cut. So because it's got a lot of small cuts, I'm going to go ahead and run it through twice, but you can see what ends up on your paper, but it comes out really cleanly. So I need my take your pick tool. And I'm going to just bring that a couple of pieces out and take that out. There we go. It is just so beautiful. All right, set that aside. And now what I need to do is get all this off of my plate. And I'm just going to take another piece of cardstock and kind of push that off to the side. And then that's done. So now we're going to emboss. So that little piece of cardstock that I just used, I'm going to emboss that. So I need a different sandwich. And your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine will tell you what that sandwich needs to be. So I am using the Painted Texture 3D embossing folder. And I put a little label on it so that I remember that it's 3D. They're pretty hefty, so it's not difficult to tell that that's what it is. But it's just nice to have that reminder right there. I don't have to think about it. So I put my cardstock in there. You always run the embossing folders through the folded edge forward. You can see it's kind of beveled a little bit, so it's kind of gives it a nice way to go easy forward. And then, as I said, my machine will tell me this is 3D. And here it says, using with the 3D embossing folders, I need the base plate, which is the number 1 plate here, and then the number 4 plate, which happens to be this gray plate. You see those numbers are right there. So I just run that through there. And it is true that if it doesn't go through easily, you'll know. Don't force it through. You know, like, oh, something's wrong. It's really easy to forget and leave this thin die adapter on there. You know, it's just, so sometimes I'll do that. So then I run it through. It's like, oh, it's kind of hard. Why is it so difficult? And it's because I forgot to do that. So don't force it. Let your machine tell you what, whether it's right or not. And here we have this. And you can use either side. So just go ahead and, you know, whatever you want to do, look at both sides and see if you have a preference. All right, and as I said, I've already cut out, oh no, I need to cut one more thing. I already cut out that rectangle, and I'm going to show you a secret for using, for saving paper. So I'm going back to, I've got to cut one more layer, and I'm going to cut it with copper. So I'm using a die. This is the other die that comes with the set. And so I'm back to using my 1, 2, and number 3 plates. And it's a good idea to rotate your plates so that, like I just did that one, I'm going to rotate it this way so that they stay, they last a little bit longer. They always do, you do get marks on them. That's fine. That's the nature of the beast. They are consumables. But if you rotate them, they'll last longer. Helps keep the bending. So what I'm going to do, this copper is underneath this white layer, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the die to cut out from the center of it, because you'll never see it. Your recipient for this card is never going to know that there's a hole in the middle of that copper layer. So it's a great way to save on cardstock. So I'm running it through. Now, one of the other things I want to mention is when you run the foil through the die cutting machine, try to use a plate that doesn't have a lot of marks on it, because sometimes you will get some of those marks on the paper. So I turn it over, looks like it's got a really good cut, and there we go. That's going to be the inside. Nobody's going to know but you and me. So I'll go ahead and take this out. And what I did with this one was I left some of the pieces in, so you can decide if you want to take them all out. I thought it was kind of fun. I left like every other one in on that side. And I'm going to take all of these out. Just poke them through. Of course, if you have the brush, that works as well. Okay, here we go. Now we're ready to assemble the card. So I bring back all of my pieces, card base, all of my layers, and the rest is pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and put the inside in first. I'm going to go ahead. I like liquid glue. You use whatever adhesive works best for you. And just going to center this right inside the card. Give it a good back rub. And then this layer is going to go next on the front. So I really like these hand-drawn dots. They really have that, they just make a nice background. You know, if you don't have designer series paper, you can use any color to create a coordinating background. All right, so now this next piece I'm going to actually lift up on dimensionals. So we're going to assemble it first. Now, of course, as you can see, right, I've got the holes in there. So I am going to only put adhesive around the outside of my white embossed layer. You know, normally I do the inside, but I don't really want adhesive in there. And foil paper is a little slippery if you use the liquid glue. So this would be one case where you might think, oh no, I'll use the tape runner because it's not going to slip. But be careful when you're assembling that because it does slip around a little bit. All right. So if you've seen a couple of my recent videos, you know I've become enamored with the foam adhesive sheets. It gives, as a background, is to lift up the images. It's basically a full sheet of dimensionals that's not cut in the little, what are those, 6-sided hexagons. You can absolutely use the dimensionals, but I have found that I'm really enjoying this. So this one, I've got some scraps here that I've already cut up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just use 2 of these. So I'm gonna assemble this one first and put that in there. And you can see it's about a 1/4 inch all the way around. It's about a 1/4 inch smaller than the base. And I'm gonna just go ahead and take this and snip it off and put that on the bottom. So I can really use every little bit of this adhesive. That's the foam adhesive sheets. So it's basically just double stick tape. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that on, and I want it kind of in the lower right-hand corner. I'm kind of offsetting it a little bit, just to create some interest, something a little bit different. You could certainly center it if you prefer. It's always nice to make it your own a little bit. So I'm making these 2 sides pretty much equidistant from each other. Kind of lining that up. Okay, and so now we're gonna put our little pieces on. As you can see, we'll do like that. I want this to be kind of in the center. And all I'm gonna do is, you can see some of these have a little more room to adhere that. They all will be on the paper, so I'm good with that. I don't really want this one to be adhered down. I want it to be up. I'm only going to put adhesive on these other flowers so that the top of it will be loose, which I think is fine. All right. And then this one is going to come here, but I'm going to wait. Before I adhere that, I want to kind of eyeball it with my sentiment. And now I am going to use the dimensionals on this piece. 2, it's kind of long, so I'm going to put 3. Don't put it too close to the end because it will hang over a little bit. And you can see, okay, so I know where this piece is going to go. And actually, I've got a dimensional right there, so it will hold it down. But just in case, I'm going to go ahead and put a glue dot there. I know it's going to be covered up with the sentiment, so I'm not worried about it kind of peeking out. I am going to kind of look and see. That's going to be about there, and I think I want that kind of offset like that. So I'm going to put that little glue dot right in there. All right, and take these off, and we are almost done. Make sure I cover up my glue dot. I put my sentiment down. You can see that's nice. That's attached. It's not going to go anywhere. And the last thing is the ribbon. So I just have, this is kind of the tail end of this. I have some of the soft succulent ribbon, and this color is actually retiring in April. So if you like this soft succulent color, don't hesitate to stock up on it, because once Stampin' Up announces last call, it'll go fast. It always does. These in colors, you know, are only available for 2 years, and you know, they do sell out. Once they're gone, you can't get them. So I'm just making a little ribbon, a little bow, excuse me, with this, and I'm gonna just put that right. Let's see, do I want to put it under? No, I'm gonna put it right there. So cut that off. Let's see, maybe like that. And I think I want to do it that way. And another glue dot, and we're done. I hope you like what you are seeing. If you do, give me a thumbs up or a like button. Follow me if you are inspired to make a comment. That would be wonderful. It helps others to find me when they see that there have been comments. Let's see, that's maybe a little big. No, it'll be all right. There you go. That's it. So have a great day. I hope that you you have some more stamping in your day, and I hope that you enjoyed what you saw and it's inspired you to unleash your inner creativity. Use that same layout with different stamps or dies to create cards for yourself and make them your own. It's nice to have those measurements to get you started. Bye for now.